So I'm going to give you the context first. So I just caught a video from a creator, and I want to shout them out too because I thought it was a pretty solid discussion, about 20 minutes. 7 item stone with the parentheses bonus. It's an interesting name. But regardless, so he was talking about what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh! And I thought this is a conversation I've been talking about for years, and I thought I would do something a little different this time and basically do a live reaction, I suppose you could say, even though I already watched the video. I watched it in its entirety, but I'm going to kind of watch it again with you all and just kind of discuss as we go along here, because again, this just lit a fire in me, and I gotta do something with it. So if you're down with that and you're cool with that and you're here for the ride, we'll strap in because we're gonna get to it. Okay, so I'm gonna try to pull this up here. Hopefully it'll all run smoothly and there won't be any problems. Let me see here. So this is the video, and it's called, as the title of this stream suggests, This is What Yu-Gi-Oh! Really Needs. Apparently, we have finally found the answer. No, honestly, the answer has been staring us in the face for quite some time. And the reason why, again, I really wanted to, I want to also like take this opportunity too, and just to direct people to this particular video, because I think more videos like this need to be a thing. There are some of us that are very vocal about it. Some of us are trying to do something about it, the situation at hand regarding just Yu-Gi-Oh! As a franchise and where everything is. And more of us need to be willing to speak up about it and try to take action in whatever ways we see fit. Because this is a problem that has persisted for quite some time now. But it's not something that can't be solved. It's not an issue that can't be overcome with the right circumstance. And yeah, no, I want to get into it. So bear with me for a second. Before I start, I just want to make sure I have everything set up here on my end. Everything needs to be just raring to go so we can hop into this. And I will check the live chat in a moment here. Again, I'm just kind of just kind of getting everything in order. But again, I hope everyone's doing well. We just had a new video dropped. It was something that was also kind of a bit of a passion thing, as much like this, I suppose you could say, um, where yeah, I decided to go back to Capsule Monsters. Remember that? Anybody anybody remember Capsule Monsters? Well, yeah, well, I certainly do. And I decided I would do something about it and do something with it rather. And I will get into that as well. So there's just going to be a lot of things to talk about with this stream. And again, I'm kind of hopefully not totally waffling here as I try to set everything up. Sorry. Okay, let me make sure everything's good. Okay, I've got the live chat back up for me to see. Thank goodness for that. Okay, gosh. All right. I think I'm ready now. Finally. Okay, let's begin. So let me actually. Oh, let me rewind it here. We're gonna start from the beginning, of course. We're not just gonna start half baked in here. And yeah, we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this. There's a lot to be said. Here we go.
7 item stone, serialized Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Oh, I should actually say this here. Let me start off here actually. So for those that don't know, these two cards that he's holding up, in case you're totally out of the loop on this, those are real cards. They are full arts for those that just would have no idea about this. This is something that Konami recently launched. Which is in this case, these two particular cards, these are actually retrains of obviously the Dark Magician and Blue Eyes Red Dragon, which I think are cool. But what this guy is going to talk about here, what this duelist here is going to say, is again, it's the truth, and it needs to be said out loud. But I also think that the conversation needs to continue, and so I want to do my part. So here we go.
7 item stone, serialized Yu-Gi-Oh cards are not going to save Yu-Gi-Oh. What does that mean even? To save Yu-Gi-Oh? Are you talking about the card game or are you talking about Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole? Me,
And let me say this, right, as I'm going to be pausing frequently, and I also, again, I encourage you to go and watch this video yourself, and just support videos like this if you're simply just passionate about the anime, especially. It's definitely something that needs to be done. But the thing about how he's starting this video, I mean, that is a discussion in its own right. Like when we're talking about quote unquote saving Yu-Gi-Oh, we have to be specific about it. Now, personally, I think that what they're doing, and I've said this more than a few times, I think that what they're doing with the card game, I think is great for what it is. There's obviously some problems, especially if you're in the competitive scene. If you're in the collector scene, it varies because a lot of the time the competitive scene will dictate if cards will spike up in prices, and that can make things challenging for collectors. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, right, this is something that I can't get too deep into on my end because this is something that will directly impact this channel in the future. But there are certain things that I am looking to invest in, and some of the time the market can make that difficult. So again, when we're talking about what it necessarily needs saving, um, it's actually pretty much overall. It's the franchise as a whole. It's the IP itself. It's Yu-Gi-Oh itself, not necessarily just one piece of it. And the anime is, well, we're gonna get into that.
me personally, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh franchise enthusiast.
Same
The
here.
card game is cool, but what got you to the card game, at least for millennials like me, dude? I'm 30 fucking 4 right now. I'm
Amen.
34, so back in 2002 or
Back
whatever
in
the
the
hell it was,
day.
2003, what brought it to the people like me who made this shit successful in the first place?
And make no mistake, what he's saying right here is absolutely the truth, right? The way that this franchise ever really got this far, the way that it managed to reach the levels of success that it has now, which make no mistake is a pretty big footprint. And I've said this in several conversations, just privately, and I want to say this part out loud. And I stand on this. And maybe someone would fight me over this. I don't know, but I think that it's absolutely the truth. Oh, is the volume low? Okay, yeah. Let me fix that. I want to make sure that the volume. Thank you for pointing it out. Thank goodness. Ah, see, this is why I love getting feedback here because this goes a long way. Okay, so the volume should be good on his end, so that way you'll be able to hear him better. But let me continue here. Right, the only franchise that has ever managed to rival Pokemon, and mind you, Power World's putting up a good fight right now. But that's more so on like the video game side of things. But as far as card games are concerned, and especially as far as franchise are that are concerned, relating to like summoning a creature or what have you, and things of that nature, right? Yu-Gi-Oh is the only one that did it. And I would say Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon are much like how Sonic is to Mario, right? It's like a rivalry that was going on, and for the longest time now, Yu-Gi-Oh has kind of been, I want to say it's been kind of in between things as far as where it is competitively and when in comparison to Pokemon, which has been, well, a lot of us know, right? but but I say that to say, and that's a compliment. That's a compliment to the potential that Yu-Gi-Oh always had and still has today. It's just a matter of what's missing. And again, I want to talk about this, and I want us to really get into this conversation because this is how we further this along and possibly spark some semblance of change for the future. Oh, that's the death battle, right? Now, to be fair, right, the death battle knew who was going to win that fight. I think that, to be fair, because I know of death battle, and I don't often tune into a lot of their clips these days, but I did watch that one. And I thought it was pretty accurate, all things considered. And it's not to say that Ash wouldn't put up a fight, but I think in the grand scheme of things, when you got Mirror Force handy, not a lot you can do unless you got a negate on hand right there. But anyway, let's continue.
Place. It was the anime, at least here in the West. Japan, whatever. They had the manga, they had the Toei series. That's a whole nother thing.
And
Really,
and,
what
and,
brought
and
it to
and this is something, I'm sorry. I know, I'm pausing already. We're not even a minute in, and I have so much to say. Make no mistake, the Japanese audience appreciates the anime just as much as audiences outside. And I'll get more into that later.
them is the manga, obviously. They're like, whoa, they play card games? That's kind of cool, man. And then they made a whole thing about that. They just, Kazuki Takahashi traded Battle of the Week, Mind Game of the Week, to just be surrounding this all about a card game, centralizing it all about a card game. But for most people, what brought them to Yu-Gi-Oh is is the anime, dude.
And this is true.
People are always forgetting the fact that the anime is what's important here.
It really
Card
is.
gamers, this whole thing about the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, serialized cards, oh yeah, money, 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 investing, scalpers, whatever. All
But make no mistake, Konami does know where the money is. We'll get again. We're gonna get in depth as we go.
this card game bullshit. I get it. It's a big important part of people's lives when you talk about Yu-Gi-Oh. But for me, man, I'm an anime fan first and a fan of the cards second. Yeah, they were cool, shiny, dope, cool monster art, but the anime brought that love to the cards in the first place and the card game. People identified with each duelist on through the eras too.
And make no mistake, people still do. The amount of love that I have seen on this channel, and this was before I even launched the film project of mine, Bonds Beyond Space, right? But the amount of love I saw for Joey Donochi alone, it astronomical how much people love Janochi, okay? And I've said it in videos before, but there's a lot to root for in that character, and there's a little piece of something for a lot of different types of people to be able to at least relate to with him, and it's reason to be able to relate and then root for him, right? And this does not just apply obviously to Duel Monsters. This is any of the spin-offs that continued. So from GX and so on, there's a character for everybody, I would say.
Who passed a Dual Monster series, GX,
Like
5Ds,
I said, right?
Zexal, Arc V, Vrains, and onward. And when we talk about what's going to save Yu Gi Oh! The franchise, it ain't these fucking serialized cards.
And there's something else that I don't think he says in the video, and I'm gonna say it here. This is another piece of this, and I have to be honest about this. And I was somebody that was really enthusiastic about it when it started. And when I say it, I'm referring to Yu-Gi-Oh! The Chronicles. God, that first video that they released, and it was meant to be like a celebratory thing. Little did we know that they were using it as a launching pad for an entire show. Now, mind you, in the very beginning, I understood what the show was going to be because I had seen this before in anime, specifically in Japan and in anime culture, where if an anime is titled a promotional anime, it was going to be short, and no matter what. So the episodes would be short. There was always a possibility to be a very short run. Sometimes they go for a while, but the episode length, the timeline, or the time for each episode is it's gonna be on the shorter side. But make no mistake, right? As enthusiastic as I was, that started to just slip over time because I saw the decks that they were prioritizing, and some of them are good choices. Make no mistake, right? Um, I think that, for example, the stuff with Endymion and all the most recent one that they're covering, I thought that that was a good choice, especially from the magician side of thing. There's a lot of magician fans out there, just generally speaking, not just dark magician or what have you, right? But the thing about it is okay, they had everything they needed to make the Chronicles wildly more successful than it currently is. And I hate to play the numbers game, but because it's the company owned channels, I'm gonna have to go there with this. But the viewership on a lot of those episodes, they're lucky to even break like 100,000 viewership. And the reason why that matters in this case is because this is coming from the official release. Okay, this is the official Konami channels, whether it's the Japanese version, the channel that's specifically marketed to Japan's audience, or even the English channels that also are out there to market, right? They're not really breaking that many boundaries, and it hurts to watch that. And after a while, that's kind of what weaned me off of it, was seeing that it wasn't getting the success that it could. And the thing is that it had everything it needed. Okay, so when Yu-Gi-Oh! The Chronicles launched, and again, I know we're barely 2 minutes into his video, and I'm so sorry for that. Again, I encourage you to watch it on your own time as well. Don't just hear it from this end. But when Chronicles first was coming out, and it was out for a little bit, and I think we were maybe one or two decks into it, the Blue Eyes deck launched, the brand new Blue Eyes structure deck, which is obviously essentially a Kaiba deck, if we're being honest, right? It's a Kaiba deck. It's a Kaiba Blue Eyes deck, right? And it was phenomenal. It topped at multiple events. It was being loved by all sides of the fans of Yu-Gi-Oh. There are subsections within Yu-Gi-Oh's fan base. There's a little bit of something that everybody likes individually, maybe more than other things. So some people might like the anime more, which is I would argue the bulk majority of the audience. Some people just prefer the card game on its own merits, which is there's nothing wrong with that. Make no mistake, there's no problem with that. There are people who just like the collection, the collecting aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's again zero problem with that. But the thing about it again, we had the perfect opportunity with the Blue Eyes White Dragon structure deck. What they should have done, and I've believed this since, and I will never change my mind on this. They should have wrapped up where they were, and they should have immediately launched Blue Eyes. That should have been the next Yu-Gi-Oh! The Chronicles chapter, I suppose you could say, right? Because in the promotional video that kicked the whole thing off, Blue Eyes was one of the first monsters that was featured in that promotional video, right? That celebratory video celebrating years of Yu-Gi-Oh! And they didn't do it. And I think that was a massive mistake. I think if they had just jumped into Blue Eyes right, and make no mistake, they're probably going to do it later, right? They're probably going to get to Blue Eyes at some point, and maybe I might even see like Red Eyes. Maybe we'll see Dark Magician. That stuff might happen, but they've waited way too long when the money was right there. And we're talking about a company, right? And that's the number one priority for a company is money. That's all they're that's all they're ever really going to care about. But the irony is that there are decisions that they could have made and they should have made and they still need to make that would get them that money that they crave so much. And this is one of those examples. Again, Blue Eyes White Dragon is, and I as much as I love other monsters, maybe a little bit more, I know this as truth and I know this as fact. He's the most iconic card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Everybody knows the Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's the card I've been searching for. Give me the card, old man, and I'll trade you for these. Like everyone knows that card. The show itself told you how valuable a Blue Eyes White Dragon is. And for you, Konami, the company, and I'm talking to you, Konami, if you happen to be watching, listen, you had the opportunity right there. Launch Blue Eyes with Yu-Gi-Oh! The Chronicles, and that should have been what was going on while the structure deck that had just come out at that time. That would have been the prime time to do it because everyone would have loved it. Everyone would have been tuning in. Everyone would have made it blow up. It just would have gone crazy. And they missed it. They missed that window. And it's not to say that they can't do it again, but it's just an example of learning from their mistakes. And I think that was a massive mistake. They should have gone all in then when we had that opportunity. But let's continue.
All that's doing is attracting a bunch of fucking D-bags and crypto bros and scalper bros and investment bros. All these fucking bros. So many bros. All you
Lots of
bros
bros.
out there. All you fucking douchebag bros that
Oh my goodness.
sullied my precious Yu-Gi-Oh! With your fucking money first bullshit. Sorry. It's fucking annoying. Really is. Like, really is. And I get it. I get it. You know, some of the people that try to sell and flip Yu-Gi-Oh, they don't even play the fucking game, and neither do I. So I understand it from
Make no mistake, I do. There's too much evidence on this channel to prove that. But anyway.
all aspects. I don't have that much money. Shit, I should be one of the bros too, right?
And it's crazy because speaking of which, oh my gosh. As of right now, I have probably about 50 physical decks built, and make no mistake, right? Like that's crazy. And saying it out loud is always funny. Right. So I was that guy that would pull up to a locals to play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Or trade or whatever. And I'd have like two bags, and then someone would see that and this almost happened almost every time. And then someone would see that and go, "Oh man, is that all your trades?" I'm like, "Well, this is my trades." Like, "Oh, well, what's the other bag for?" "Oh, these are my decks." Huh? I would always come with an entire bag with all the decks that I had built at that point in time. And the bag only got bigger and bigger to the point that I have the original bag inside of a bigger bag with like four other bags. And they're all inside of one big bag. Ah, and I don't regret it. It's amazing. I'll have to get into that one of these days. Anyway.
I like money. You know? I need that. I need money. Got that on my grill. But all that desire for wealth and flips doesn't outweigh my love for the entire franchise as a whole. And
Yep.
that's how you got to think about this
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Yu-Gi-Oh! The franchise as a whole, what's important? A good anime. Serialized cards don't matter when it comes to the anime. And we are on a big long hiatus from mainline Master Rule anime. Master Rule is whatever.
And this is massive. I mean, this is an unprecedented time as far as being a Yu-Gi-Oh anime fan, especially if you're an anime only fan, right? If that's the one thing that you're particularly invested in, this is just again unprecedented. We have nothing other than Chronicles. We have no confirmation of an upcoming show that's going to be character driven. It's going to be featuring, a cast of characters, right? We have nothing. And already the events that would have been the ideal time and place for Konami to announce something, they've already passed. So that we have nothing. So this is just a crazy time, period.
They follow the rules of the actual card game within the anime. Well, they say it's gotten so complex. How could they write a duel series about Yu-Gi-Oh with the game being so complicated? Shut up.
And you know what? And this is another thing too, right? Okay, so I want to say this, and this is not spoilers necessarily. How do I word this? Okay. Right, but okay, the question of okay, how do you take the Yu-Gi-Oh card game as it is? This will make sense in a minute. How do you take the current card game as it is, and how do you make it playable for like an anime episode or something? I'd say that, right, because I'm making a film. It's gonna be about Yu-Gi-Oh characters, so obviously it's gonna have to be a duel, right? Yeah, no, there are ways to go about it. I think that what Vrains did, as far as being the last anime that could actually dive into that, I think they did an all right job. Obviously, I understand that the problems may exist where, okay, if we're sitting in just one player's turn and that's like a good 10 minutes of the episode, that there might be some trouble there. There are decks that even exist now, whether they're meta or not, and you can have a pretty quick turn. It just all just depends, um, and there can at least be some interaction back and forth, so that it's not like it's just one person playing the game. I think that one of the biggest problems that the card game, and even in terms of the anime to a degree, and to be fair, the anime is different because a lot of the time the life points were lower than official play in real life, but especially in real life, I think the biggest problem at this point in time is the life points, actually. I would go as far as to argue, and I think I've said this somewhere either on this channel or elsewhere before, but I'm one of those maybe rare breeds that thinks that we just need more life points in official gameplay. That's what I think. I think that because we have decks that can summon at least 3 to 4 monsters that all have 2,000 or more attack points in like one turn, and this could be player two's turn, and they might be able to get through whatever player one set up, right, in the first 2 turns. And theoretically, player two is going to win if they have a deck that is capable of doing that and is also capable of overcoming whatever the heck player one has set up, right? So how do we work around this? How do we give player one the opportunity to keep playing? Increase the life points. I think that that's something that is at least worth trying. Now, personally, because it would mean nothing if I just say it. I've tested this out myself with decks that either have been competitive before or at least had some sort of merit in different periods of time throughout each individual era, I suppose you could say. And I think an increase in life points is really what's going to help modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I think so. I think so. Now, does the anime need to do that necessarily? I think it could depend. I think there could be scenarios where you could have more life points just so that the match can not only last longer, but especially so that, again, both players have the opportunity to interact with each other so that it's not just one sided per se the entire time. Sometimes it just is a matter of life points in order for somebody to turn a duel around. And I think that that's what part of it is. I do use the Neuron app. Dragon, yes, I see you mentioned that. I do use that. I love it actually. I think it's freaking great, and I'm glad that they made it. Um, there's some things I could say about that app because I think that they need to add a few features. It might take a while. It's totally fine. It's worth the wait. But there's some features that they definitely should add to that app, and it would really, really help. Anyway, God, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
You know, and so many people gave up with each new series back in the day. Me, I got distracted by life, personally. I got distracted by life,
Happens.
chasing whatever crap I was into, trying to be a badass and go party all the time.
And you know what? Oh my God, I'm so glad you mentioned tag duel. Sorry, this is in the live chat here. So Dragon Kingry tag duels. We don't even see when are we gonna get official tag duel tournaments like consistently and often? Like when I don't see that, and that's just like one thing that they could do. That's one thing that they could do that could really shake things up. And obviously there's other things that they can do that people have talked to death about, right? Like having tournaments for different formats and yada yada, which I think is a great idea, by the way. Just variety, right? Giving people choices. And that's part of why, which I was laughing about earlier, which was 100% accurate though. Um, yeah, the amount of decks that I have physically built to be able to play in real life. The reason why I have so gosh darn many, and that was always the question that would come up, is if I go to a locals and I pull up with two bags and one of them isn't trades because they're all my decks, I'd explain, okay, well, why do you have that many? And I say, well, I like options. And you know what? Sometimes that's all it really comes down to. If people had different options in terms of how they could play the game in a real life sense, I think that that would be pretty significant. So mind you, we're talking about what Yu-Gi-Oh really needs, and while the anime is going to be the crux of this conversation, there's still things to be said about just the real life aspect of playing the game, which I care about immensely as much as I care about the anime side of things, which we're definitely going to get into. And there should be more, is what I think. I think there should just be more options in how to play, especially in a competitive sense, or even just with locals and whatever. There needs to be just options so that people have whatever their preferences are and they can just go to that. If you prefer to play in this format, here's a tournament you could attend, even if it's not necessarily real life. It could be online, but whatever ends up working out, so that everybody gets the opportunity to do it. That's some things that could be done, but I digress.
It was a waste of fucking time. I should have just stuck with my guns and just stuck with Yu-Gi-Oh, being a Yu-Gi-Oh anime fan. And then
Yeah.
eventually maybe I would have gone to the card game. But yeah, when you look at Yu-Gi-Oh videos, right? Yu-Gi-Tubers, it's really heavily focused on the card gamer aspect of this stuff, and you really need to start thinking from the anime fan perspective. And a lot of the new cats out here, right? Guys in their 20s, early 20s, maybe late teens. Maybe there's some early teens in the card game. Some kids, maybe. Barely. Most of them don't even give a shit about the anime. Can you believe that? I can't believe that shit.
And that's I- it's a shame. Not because of anything to do with those individuals that have just nothing to do with it. It's a shame that, at least at this point in time, because this is just a really weird time right now. A part of it is that this is a time where they won't be able to discover it because there's nothing coming up. And so the longer that we go without any confirmation of a new anime, it's going to be the longer period of time, that stretch of time where people that could have discovered Yu-Gi-Oh through the anime won't, because there's nothing. Like, people for the most part are probably not going to discover Yu-Gi-Oh through the Chronicles, even though it's on YouTube and it's very accessible. True. But when you if I let's put yourself in the perspective of somebody that knows nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh and is maybe just a fan of card games or just games in general, whether they're board games and things of that nature, right? And let's say that they like anime too, or just a casual watch, whatever. If I come across Chronicles as somebody that doesn't know anything, right, about Yu-Gi-Oh, okay, so who am I meant to invest in? Because this is multiple different technically protagonists of each chapter of the Chronicles. So where exactly do I jump in, and how am I going to invest? It could be a little bit more challenging, right? If you put it in that framework, if you take it from that perspective, it could be a little more difficult for somebody to kind of jump in, and have Chronicles be their starting point. Which, make no mistake, there's going to be people that may discover it that way and end up being a fan as a process, which is not a bad thing at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm arguing. But what I am saying is that having that character driven show, something that is, it's almost like the equivalent of the Saturday morning cartoon, right? Where it's something that you can watch and you can get invested in. And this isn't obviously exclusive to even just anime, right? If we go to just general television, what have you, long standing shows, just having something where you can invest in the characters. Sometimes there might even be shows where you can just jump into any episode and you're not going to be totally thrown for a loop of what's going on. It's easy for you to enter into just any old episode of a show. And to some degree, I think Yu-Gi-Oh kind of has that to a degree. Sometimes there are those episodes where if you missed the episode before or two episodes before, it might be a little confused. But still, I think that missing the fact that the anime's not there, it's a problem. And again, for people that are growing up these days and are still young and are not at all aware of what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh! Because again, there's no anime to jump into and to give it a try, right? To give it a chance. You don't have that, and we don't know when, if ever, we're gonna get that announcement. We don't know when it's gonna happen. For the first time ever, again, is it's kind of a big deal. Um, it's a really difficult situation for sure. But let's continue.
Shit. They're all too cool to watch the fucking anime. Dude, that's why you're here. Seriously, think about this for a second. What we need is a new anime or movie project. No, we need a new anime first. It's 2026. It's the 10th anniversary of the Dark Side of Dimensions movie, which brought a bunch of hype back.
And this right here, the Dark Side of Dimensions. If that was not proof, if the proof was not in the pudding for that film, I don't know what is. That film proved it. That film proved that there is still enthusiasm, not only just for an anime period, but especially for those that appreciated the original cast. I mean, it's the most iconic out of all of them. Inevitably, it would be, especially because it was so darn good. But really, the Dark Side of Dimensions, it did everything it needed to do, and I think it was the perfect platform to continue a storyline. And hello to you, Zando. Welcome, welcome. Um, someone should make a sequel about that. I wonder who's doing that right now. And I'm living proof. I'm living proof. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I want this to succeed. I want Yu-Gi-Oh to succeed. It's probably at this point in time, I'm gonna give a shout out to the show, and if you're not a fan of it, you're fine. But other than One Piece, yep, I said it. Other than One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh is effectively the most important. No, honestly, it's almost neck and neck, really. The most important IP franchise to me in life at this point. And it's why I wanted to succeed so badly. It's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's also why I want to do what I'm doing here right now, is to continue this conversation because there are things that can be done. And a big part of what Konami needs right now in order to get this franchise on the right path, right? That's what this stream is going to get us to. It's going to be the answer to that, which I haven't. I know what the answer is. Okay, what Yu-Gi-Oh really needs, and we'll get there.
In 2016, 2017 era. And it bled into the 2018 and 2019 era of Yu-Gi-Oh! I know it did for me. I was in 2018. I was transitioning from one place to another in life. I was moving. I'm like, you know what? During my move, while I was moving, I'm like, let me just throw something on, man. Let's just throw Yu-Gi-Oh! on Netflix. Boom.
Time to
Reignited
binge.
my
Time to
whole
binge.
shit. Now I'm here. We here now. So that got me into collecting. And
Yep.
then
That's what
collecting
it'll do.
led
That's what
me
it'll
to
do.
trying to sell and shit, and that was hard.
But make no mistake, right, about the collecting aspect of it. The reason why the majority of the anime fans who eventually start collecting the card, the reason why they're collecting those cards, it's not just because, ooh, shiny card, pretty. It's because the cards have a significance to the show that they watched in the first place. These are cards that belong to characters that we can invest in. We invest in the characters so that then we wish to invest financially into the cards that the characters play. If I did not love Muto Yugi as a character, why would I invest in cards that are centered around his deck? You know, other than the fact that, oh, it's shiny and it's pretty and I like it, or I'm a collect. But especially from the perspective of someone that watched the anime and experienced it top to bottom, right, start to end, that's where that comes from. That's the point, right? The way that we market these cards is through characters who play these cards. We understand this, right? It's it's how all of this works. You don't just like Pikachu because he's cute and adorable. It all started, right? If we're being honest, it all started with Ash Ketchum for those anime fans, right? That's his buddy. That's his day one. That's his dark magician. I mean, what else do you want to say? But whatever. The point is that a lot of these franchises out there, not even just exclusive to like a card game centered show or what have you, right? But like, I don't know, Star Wars. You're not buying a lightsaber just because it's a really cool laser sword. You're also buying it because, you know what, I kind of like Luke Skywalker or whatever, right? And I could go on and on and on and on. And obviously, there are exceptions to this. I'm not saying this is an absolute. There are exceptions. There are folks that get these things for differing reasons. It's fine, totally fine. I'm acknowledging it because it's true. That being said, though, for a lot of folks, this is how we get into it. This is how we become the collectors. I see the show. I love the characters. I love the story being told. You know what? I'd love to have those. I'd love to have that card. I really like that card because of what happened to this card here. This card called the Dark Magician. How did this card come to be? Well, I actually know the origins of this Dark Magician card and why it's so important to Atem, to the Pharaoh. I kind of want to get it. And that's all she wrote.
When you work a lot, you're trying to make some money at this shit, hey, it takes a lot of effort. People who have quit their jobs and done this shit full time,
And this is real, by the way. People really do.
they know. You know. It takes a lot. You got to make a decision whether you're going to sell cards or just live a regular life. Because then you could do it on the side, but then there's all your free time. You're just going to be in your room fucking selling cards and listing cards all day. Anyways, but selling led me to really understanding what the game was about. Why do these cards sell for this price in the first place? This is the meta, the competitive angle to this shit. And then you're like, whoa, why are these cards so good? Or why are these cards so shit? Then you start understanding, getting into it. So, as much as I would like to play, I don't play the game. But I do follow the meta like I've said many times before. I follow the meta. Now I don't even sell cards. I just rewatch the animes over and over again and just
Dragon
collect
Duelist, welcome,
whatever I want.
welcome.
Not
Yeah, no,
whatever I
there's a
want, but
lot there's a
whatever
lot
I
of
can
what he's
afford.
saying
You know,
here
I'll
that
be I'll
is
be getting into
it's just honest
card
truth.
lore
It's
and
just honest
shit. I'm
truth.
like, Dogmatica is what? Dogmatica.
Oh, right. So Dogmatica. Yeah. So that was another one that I wanted to mention from the Chronicles, and that was a good choice too. There was definitely a story to be told there. Um, but again, but then there are other decks that were featured in the show up to this point that you could have easily slotted those out for a later time. Still done it, right? You could still do any of these decks that have already been featured in the Chronicles as their own individual chapters, but you should have put the heavy hitters first. Because here's another piece of this puzzle, right? If I'm let me put it this way, right? Because this is what I was talking about earlier. If I'm a Seto Kaiba fan, if I love Blue Eyes White Dragon, if I even love a Voice Raider every now and then, right? Whatever. You know, a Maiden with Eyes of Blue, whatever. If I'm watching Yu-Gi-Oh! The Chronicles, and let's say I sit through the first two installments, I'm like, yeah, you know, these are cool. You know, I really hope I see Blue Eyes. And then the third installment was announced, and it's Blue Eyes. Here's the thing about that. If they're coming out the gate saying we're gonna now jump into Blue Eyes from the very beginning of the Chronicles when it was launched, that's how you get people to stay. Okay. There was already anticipation and hype around the show, but the way that Konami could have capitalized on that and went the step further so that people would stay invested beyond the beginning of when, because that's what happens sometimes, right? You have a project that launches, it's really really well received at first because oh my god, this is something new, something to look forward to. Oh, there's a lot of interesting things, there's questions I have, there's things I want to see happen, whatever. And then depending on how your execution goes, it can slip. It's that easy. It is that easy. And so the thing about it is, right, in the case of the Chronicles, is they came out with the gate with two decks that meta players in particular would recognize and appreciate. Does it mean that that was going to appeal to anime fans? Eh, especially when the first two installments, one of those two installments was 2 episodes. Which is very difficult, I have to say, especially with the runtime they both had. Very difficult to actually tell a cohesive story and the type of story that you can invest in as a watcher of said story, right? It's very difficult. It's a very difficult task, and I don't fault the people who animated it. I don't fault the people who wrote it. I fault that whatever their restrictions were that kept them to such a short length of time to try to tell a story with Sky Striker of all things, it's like it was never going to get done. It was basically just a highlight reel in 2 episodes, which is a shame. It's kind of a disservice to the deck because again, it does have meta relevance, and those players would appreciate that. But here's the problem: you're not pulling in the majority of the audience, and so right. This is where I'm going to tie everything together. This is where we come full circle. Because the Blue Eyes White Dragon, the most recent structure deck, had launched, the advent of the Eyes of Blue, or something along those lines was the name, at least the Japanese name, right? Because that deck was so successful and it was so well received by everyone, okay? Everyone collectively loved it. This was the time to draw people further into Chronicles. If you lost people with the first two installments, and in particular the first one, this is how you drew everybody back in. You gave us Blue Eyes for the next installment, and then you continue on. Because if we see that there's possibility for something that's especially well recognizable for the majority of the audience, if we can see something that we are all going to love because we know it, we're familiar with it, we appreciate it, we know the history behind it, we know the lore as it existed prior, but now we get an opportunity to dive further into that lore, right? Blue Eyes lore in this case. Perfect. And then I might be more willing to keep up with this Chronicles thing because there's always a possibility that another deck or another monster will be featured that I'm already invested in, because I'm invested in Kaiba as a fan, right? In this hypothetical, I'm invested in Kaiba as a fan, which might end up being an investment in Blue Eyes White Dragon. So if I'm invested in Kaiba to then be invested in Blue Eyes, if the Chronicles features Blue Eyes, the card that was owned by the character that started it all for me, Seto Kaiba, now I might be more inclined to keep up with the Chronicles because there's always a possibility that another one of my favorite characters, monsters, could appear in this thing. That's how it should have worked. That's what the Chronicles should have been. Despite having a short runtime per episode, despite it being a short lived series overall, as far as each installment is concerned, you still have enough there. You have so much material that you could have drawn from in the first place that it would be enough to keep people watching. If nothing else, it would at least give people a reason to watch. But you're only catering to a very small section of the fan base. And that's why they're not drawing in more attention. That's why you don't have a lot of people, right, going out there and making these videos and whatever. Even some of the biggest creators in our space, in this space of Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, not a lot of them are making videos about the Chronicles. And I mean, how can you? There's so little material to work with. It's very difficult. I don't blame anyone. I really can't. There's not a whole lot to work with. I thought about doing discussion videos, but I'm like, I mean, I'm going to be grasping at straws here. I mean, other than information that maybe the episodes don't cover, that's fair. That's something that you can talk about. Um, but it only goes so far. And so this is the struggle that Chronicles runs into, is how it was executed versus the concept, because the concept is glorious, it's fantastic, it's amazing, it's something that it's why the thing was given a chance in the first place. The reason why Chronicles was given a fair shake in the first place is because this is an awesome concept. The idea of getting to dive into the lore of these cards, because the artwork alone tells you a story, and it's just intriguing enough that you might want to look further in. But let's continue.
Manica caught my eye because the lore, bro.
The
Some good
lore!
lore.
The
Sky Striker's
lore!
got a manga. That's a good ass manga. Media material is what matters in Yu-Gi-Oh success, not these fucking serialized $20,000 cards. And cool, you want to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh needs collectability. No.
And you know what? Make no mistake, right? This is just me being honest, right? But a lot of decks these days, it depends. It can vary, but a lot of these decks these days, even ones that aren't meta relevant or whatever, you might be spending at least 100 something to get all the cards you need. And that's especially if you're not trying to get certain rarities or whatever, because obviously there are those that prefer to have a particular type of rarity. They want to have the deck looking a certain way just visually, and that's appealing to them. There's no wrong, no wrong there, nothing wrong with that. But if you're just trying to afford it and actually be able to have the cards in hand and play them, right? Sometimes you're not really going to be going for the cards that are super shiny. You just want to actually have the physical card, and it doesn't really matter whether it's shiny or not. It's just so you can actually build whatever deck you're trying to build or collect whatever you're trying to collect. So that's what it is, you know. Unfortunately, sometimes you got to pay a good pretty penny just to build one deck these days, and that's not even including. Let me say this right, because I don't think he says this in the video, and in case he doesn't, I'll put it out here as well. That's just buying the cards. Because then you got to think, okay, how am I going to keep the cards safe? Well, I got to buy some sleeves. That's like $8 or higher, depending on certain things or whatever. Well, you know what? I got to also make sure that the sleeves are in a safe spot with the cards or just overall. Now I got to get a deck box. Okay, but if I want to play further and if I really want to go the extra mile, I want to see something cool when I'm putting my cards onto when I play them. I got to get a playmat. You know, it keeps going, and obviously all of this is choice. It's optional. It's you know, you don't have to necessarily invest in further and further and further. Me personally, I only really get the sleeves and the deck boxes, and that's pretty much as far as it goes. I like playmats. I've thought about buying playmats. I have maybe one playmat I won at an event. This was way back when, and it was freaking Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, one of my favorite monsters out there for sure. I have a funny story about that. Maybe one of these days I'll talk about that. But anyway, no, it's all optional. It's not to complain about it because I personally I don't have any complaints when it comes to investing into the game because I know that I am. I know that it's a choice. It's whether or not I really want to, and ultimately I choose to invest in the game because I also want to support the game and I want to support the people who may, for example, if I'm ordering online or whatever, I want to support the people who are selling. Right, this is another piece of this puzzle because at the end of the day, it's an ecosystem and it goes round. It goes round. But anyway,
No, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't need that much collectability. It has it automatically because the tie-in
by
from the
default.
love of the anime
Yep.
and the media material. Oh fucking K. Oh fucking K. You get that? Jeez, bro. So basically what I'm saying is we need a new anime project. Konami
Without saying, it
and
goes
the
without
owners
saying.
and controllers of
Honestly,
Yu-Gi-Oh
you guys
need to get their shit together and
really,
put out an
really don't.
anime project ASAP.
And while he points this out that they need to get things together, that's another piece of this puzzle. The question is, did they have it up to this point? Did they have things in order? Well, that's what we got to get into. We're about 7 minutes into the video. 20 minutes in total. I might not even go through, like, I'll say this now in case it doesn't happen, but I might not even go through the whole video. But the reason why, again, this video is important is simply due to the conversation at large, right? Why is it that Konami is in the situation that they're in, right? If we have to analyze this, from top to bottom and really understand why we're in this mess in the first place. We don't have an anime, not even for Rush. I mean, you're when it comes to being an anime fan, right? There's two camps at this point, and those that sit in the middle. Either you're a fan of the original anime that followed the OCG, the original card game, or you might be a fan of the anime that is more so tailored to the Rush cards, whether or not you're even aware of them, because some people might not be aware of them at all to this day. Duel Links does its best to make up for that, but yeah, you can't even get the cards unless you get them from Japan. You gotta import them or go there yourself and buy them that way. But there's no English printing of the Rush card, so it's a struggle. It is a struggle all around. The original anime fans, they've got nothing to work with. They've got the Chronicles. They can try Rush. They might not like it because honestly, Rush is not for everyone. And it's kind of been, it's unfortunately due to circumstance in a lot of ways, but it's been proven that it's not. the anime is not necessarily appealing to a lot of people from just the art style alone, and I don't blame anyone for this. I don't fault anyone for this, and obviously there are those that like it just fine, and that's good. There's no problem. I applaud those that appreciate it for what it is, because sometimes that's all it really comes down to. Me personally, it's a barrier for entry for me, and that's just my preference. That the art style, the Kazuki Takahashi art style, is what was appealing to me, and seeing how the style of the Rush anime is just the furthest thing from that in a lot of ways. And I saw that they tried to kind of sort of get back a little bit with the second installment, which was Go Rush, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and I appreciate that because it looked like they were trying to put a little bit more detailing into the character designs, which I appreciate that. But again, it's a hard thing for personally for me, and I'm sure that there might be those that relate to that. But it's hard for me to want to even watch it because it's visually it's just not appealing. And sometimes when it comes down to it, the eye likes what it likes to look at. And when I looked at Kazuki Takahashi's style of artwork, it's enough to sell me alone. And then on top of that, the icing on that cake is that there was substance behind this immaculate artwork. Okay, these incredibly well designed and detailed characters. And then it's more simplistic with the Rush. So regardless, whatever your preferences are, there are multiple camps that are stuck in this situation, effectively together with slightly varying context, but at the end, it's effectively the same situation. And you know that's where Konami is. And so if you ask me, if I had to give my most educated guess on what's going on right there in the studios, in the boardroom meetings, they're scratching their heads trying to figure out how the heck they proceed. Based on what happened with the anime for Rush, based on what's going on with the card game right now, and how there really just hasn't been a genuine effort to translate those cards and get them out there worldwide, they're caught. They're caught. They're caught in a snag. What are we supposed to do here? This is not succeeding like it could be, and for whatever which reasons, they're not choosing to try to push this thing out worldwide. And the problem is as well is like all of that is all said and done. The shows are done. Whatever cards that came out up to the point that followed those shows have already come out, at least for the Japanese audience. And I know that there's been some English dubbing done for at least one of the two shows, but no cards. So you can't even invest further in that. So the ability for them to capitalize and get all the financial success and revenue from featuring the show in different sections of the world and actually putting it out there for different dubs and having English cards or Spanish cards or whatever particular portion of the audience, right? They missed that window where it would have mattered. They've completely missed it. So what now? Well, the thing is that on the other hand, what data do they have to show that there's still things that they can do? Well, they could, and that's where I come in, right? They could do something with Dark Side of Dimensions because other than no, actually, as a matter of fact, that's the last piece of work and in an official capacity. That's the last piece of work that Takahashi was directly involved in, was effectively leading, right? This is the one thing that you have that's from recent times that people would remember that you could probably do something with. And mind you, that's not to discredit where things are left as far as the brain's timeline is concerned. You can still even find a way to tie all that together in a nice, neat bow. There's ways to do it. There are YouTube creators, or YugiTubers, I should say, that are out there that have put those theories and put that speculation and put the analysis to prove these points, that there are ways that you can connect this stuff and make it that much more substantive. Is that the right way to say that word? But it's true. There are ways to make this work. And for whatever which reasons, right, the people that are in charge, the people that are making the final calls, the final decisions, they still haven't made that choice to try to at least just take a direction and go with it. And so now we come to what really matters in this conversation. At the end of the day, here is the question. What does Yu-Gi-Oh really need? It needs a leader. Now, make no mistake, this is with what's within possibility. Okay, no one can step in those shoes that Takahashi left, because not only were those shoes full of talent, creativity, except not to say that there aren't other people like that, but in the case of Takahashi and the way that he understood his franchise and understood his audience, right? The reason why he went all in on the card game is because of the fans, because he understood the value that the fans' input has on whether or not his creation could even succeed in the first place. He understood this, and that's why he made that call. And I've made the argument, under different circumstances, I think this series could have ended up being a lot more character driven than card game driven, or even necessarily just on the basis of whether the card game would be the center focus or whether it would just be a piece of the puzzle while maybe other games would be featured. I think that it was somewhere in between there is what may have happened had the card game not taken off in the way that it did, and especially if they didn't choose to push it the way that they did, right? But at the end of the day, you know, you can't replace him. You can't do that. But what you can do is find somebody who's a fan of this franchise, is a fan themselves, understands those fans because they're also going to come from the perspective of being a fan, right? And will have the ability to honor the work of Takahashi and continue it, right? Because the thing about, right, doing a reboot, for example, and that I think that may or may not come up in this video, I can't recall. Um, but the idea of a reboot, right? That's something that's been on the table, and folks have discussed for quite some time. Even before the last Rush anime finished, people were still discussing it. I don't even necessarily think you need to do that. You just need to build on what we already have. We have a lot to work with. And it doesn't just apply to the card game centered anime or character driven aspect of the anime. And this is why I dropped the video that I did today. The same day that I'm talking about this, I dropped a video that relates to this topic. It just happened to be that the stars aligned that I caught this video, which we're now reacting and discussing with, right? Um, Capsule monsters. This is something that was already at the freaking inception of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, right? This was all the way back then. It was already there. The idea of other games which present different ways to just play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You could dive into that and you could, as Konami now has, they started an animation studio. If you really wanted to, Konami, you could have an anime specifically for the Rush cards and to feature those and whatever, make it more widespread with an English dub and whatever other languages are necessary, and give us some cards that are translated for these individual sections of the audience, right? Whatever. You could give us Yu-Gi-Oh! The Chronicles. You could keep that going, right? Keep doing that. You could also give us an anime that is focused on the card game, the original card game, and have it be character driven. But you could also even go ahead and give us a Capsule Monster show if you wanted to. You could do it. You honestly could. You could even have Duke Devlin, right? You could have him be the lead character of that or whatever, what have you. You could do something like that. Heck, you could even go back to Dungeon Dice Monsters if you want to. Sorry, because you know what? That's what I'm thinking of. I mixed it up. It's Duke Devlin and Dungeon Dice Monsters. I mixed that up. Funny enough, right? But even with Capsule Monsters, in fact, here's what you do. All right, so let me correct myself and let me make this perfect. Let's have Mokuba be the main character. I don't know, whatever. And let's have him lead a Capsule Monster show. And then let's take Duke Devlin, correcting myself, and let's have him lead a Dungeon Dice Monster show. Why not? There's so many things that you can do here. They gave up on both of them so darn quick. Neither one of them, and there's physical media that is out there. They got the games. They also had the merchandise. There is a set that you can get for both Capsule Monsters and Dungeon Dice Monsters. You can actually get them. They're very hard to get, especially just the what I've come to find is that the Capsule Monsters are the really difficult ones to get. But and that part of that's the market. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff that Konami has to work with. They have just not, and again, this is the problem, is we don't have a leader. We don't have a leader that can give direction to this franchise. That's what we need. We need somebody with a vision, somebody who understands that the fans do matter, and in this particular franchise, especially, they really do matter. Their opinions matter here, their perspective, what they enjoy, how they speak with their wallets, how they speak with. And here's the thing too, right? Because a lot of this video discusses the money aspect. Here's something that I wanted to throw into this conversation. and this is more valuable than money, it's attention. Attention is as much important as the money, because without the attention, you don't get the money. So attention is especially what's important here for the success of Yu-Gi-Oh! And any other franchise out there, period. You actually have to get eyes on these things. You have to. That's step one to getting this to go anywhere. And as far as grabbing the attention of the fans goes, well, we had something to show us what it looks like when we get the majority of fans attention on something. And that was the Dark Side of Dimensions.
And yeah, that could be the tie-in to what these serialized cards are about with Dark Magician's ass, Blue Eyes' his big white ass.
And here's the thing too, right? I'm sorry, just another thing about these cards that he's showing in this video, which these are some very newly released cards that people are getting their hands on as I speak. If we had an anime right now, would be the perfect time. This would be the prime time to do some solid natural marketing for these cards. They released, or rather they have two different sets, a set that's focusing on the protagonist's main monster cards, as well as some of the other cards that are especially iconic to those characters, like a brand new Junk Synchron. We've got a brand new Dark Magician, or sorry, Dark Magician Girl. There's just all these different monsters, right, that are iconic to each individual protagonist, whatever. We also have this for the rival characters. We've got a new Cyber Dragon. We've got a new Blue Eyes. There was even a new Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon that was announced, right? We got all these things coming out with two different sets that are specifically for the anime watchers and enjoyers who are going to get those cards not because they're just shiny and cool and they're full arts, but because of the characters that played them in the first place. And that's what gives the merit to retraining these cards and then repackaging them and selling them for people to buy, right? It's because people are invested in the characters that played them in the first place. That's Konami acknowledging, at least from the card production side of things, that's them acknowledging they know where the money is. That's why these sets exist. That's why the legendary collections came out, right? That's why just anything tying back to the protagonists, or especially to dual monsters, whatever, that's why they do it. That's why we get new Blue Eyes support every year. Because again, fundamentally, Konami, at least someone on the card production side of things, understands that the way you're going to sell this game is not anywhere else better than with the anime cards.
That could be what these cards are being printed for in the first place. It's a prelude to a new anime project. At least I seriously hope so.
And I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same, I'm like, that's gotta be it, right? Because what other reason is there? I mean, there was so much anticipation over the idea of something new that when it came to Duel Links, for example, which by the way, I want to take the opportunity to say this. I finally started playing Duel Links. Finally, I hadn't tried it. I just hadn't gotten the opportunity and the time to invest and actually try to play it properly and whatever. I've been playing it for like the last month or so, and up to this point, I'm having a good time. I'll talk about that some other point. But my reason to bringing up Duel Links is because I was saying the theories. I was saying the theories about, oh, are they trying to build up something? Are they trying to build up a storyline where all the protagonists, all the characters like meet up and there's like a big event, right? And then it ended up being nothing. That is how much people want this to happen, right? They want to see these characters as they were. We want that. A lot of us do. Um, that just goes to show.
Because if not, then this really was just for whales and rich assholes and whoever can afford this bullshit that's coming out. Magnificent monsters, magnificent maestros. The LCG had the limit over collection heroes and rivals. That was cool. You know, they didn't do this $35 for 3-pack bullshit, 18 cards for $35, which is scalp for 50 to 60 bucks, 75 bucks, 100 bucks. You know, it's just fucking ridiculous. Anyways. And I don't want to hear, yeah, I couldn't get into Arc V, I couldn't get into Zexal, I couldn't get into this anime or whatever anime, and then we just don't have any animes, and then there was Rush Duels and all this shit. I don't want to hear that shit. When special summons used to be special, shut your card game and ass up. I'm worried about the fucking franchise here. You're worried about your card game and your fucking wallet. I don't give a shit about any of that. You know why? Because it's all irrelevant. When on the grand scheme, what matters is good storytelling.
And that's where it is too. Again, we don't invest in these cards. A lot of us that are especially anime fans, maybe first in a lot of cases, not that we don't enjoy the cards and whatnot, right? But at the very least, when it comes right down to it, a good freaking story is what might sell me on merchandise. And honestly, as far as I'm concerned, is speaking for myself personally, yeah, that's the only way you're gonna sell me on anything. If I cannot invest in this is the funny thing. I'm a strange beast here, right? But I can't even get into video games without there being a good story. And I know that for a lot of video game enthusiasts and players, right, it's gonna be the gameplay first. Totally fine, makes sense. That's what the medium's for. I'm one of those oddballs. I gotta have a good story that I can invest in order to really check out any game of any kind. And you know what? The reason why I can bring up a Dungeon Dice Monsters, or the reason why I can bring up a Capsa Monsters, two derivatives of the original card game Yu-Gi-Oh, is because you know what? There's a story there. That was the whole point of the trailer for today. Capsule Monsters Reborn, right? That was the point. Is that it's an intriguing concept and there's even a story that you could tell there. And that's why I wanted to present it the way that I did. I care immensely for things like that, about presentation and what you can take as an impression based on that, right? And the execution. And Yu-Gi-Oh has that. There's so much story to be told. That's again why Chronicles was such a great idea. On paper, it's a great freaking idea. Let's get into the lore because there's a lot of good storytelling potential.
Good anime projects, good media for Yu-Gi-Oh. Get with the program here. As soon as we get new anime and new media, new material, then will we have a reason to have a new connection to these cards and justify the hype and the money aspect of the card game and the card collecting and investing bullshit. You gotta understand it. You know, after Vrains, which most people don't even check out, most people don't even watch the other animes. You should watch them.
And I'm gonna second that. Look, it's not a matter of any of, and this is something that maybe this is a quiet thing that won't necessarily be said out loud. But yes, right. The other protagonists that come after Yugi, they're not Yugi. You could make some connections to at least Yuma and Astro, maybe. But even then, no, they're they're not the same, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. They all have their quirks. They all have obviously the summoning methods that accompanied them at the time of their shows airing and whatnot. They were essentially the flagship characters that led the way for these different eras. Um, and as much as I totally understand, right, the idea that there's too many summoning methods and blah blah blah. Honestly, I think we're at a point where we can actually stop. We can actually take a pretty solid break from new summoning methods, and I think that that's what some of the recent cards that were announced. And if you've been on this channel long enough, you'd already know, right? I decided to put out a short animation about one of the new decks, and it's called Senet, and it's a dive back into the roots of Yu-Gi-Oh with an Egyptian themed deck. And that deck focuses on ritual summoning instead of, I don't know, trying to dive into some new mechanic or whatever, right? They're trying to go back to the basics. And some new information came out on another card that's going to, or sorry, another deck that's going to come out alongside with Senet in a new set for the future. And even it is not meant to necessarily focus on like an extra deck or whatever. It's just trying to focus on the main deck itself and how the monsters and cards play. And I'm like, again, with certain decisions that they're making when it comes to the card game, I'm like, yes. And these are some of those decisions. With what I've seen so far, with some of these new cards that are on the way and that are going to be coming for at least the OCG to start, these are good decisions. Let's try to get back to the basics. Let's go back to where we started in some ways and even try to bring them into the modern day. And that's what I think these new decks that are coming are going to be about. I think it's going to be about taking what maybe didn't have such a great lifespan. For example, right, ritual summoning is it's tough. It's tough, man. It's tough. But you know what? We've had now at this point, and I can say this. There's proof of it. You can find the last live stream that I did where I actually featured the Sinet deck and showed you guys effectively how it plays, or at least the way I play it. There's a way to make rituals work. and it worked. It freaking worked, and I had a great time playing. I still play them pretty frequently post that stream. But the point is, it's like, right, getting back to the roots is another big piece of how we move forward with Yu-Gi-Oh. And that's why, again, on the same time, right, at the same time, we don't necessarily need to reboot per se, but we do need to get back to the roots of this franchise, right? Egypt was a big part of that for sure. There was a lot of intrigue and mystery around everything to do with Egypt, the past of the pharaoh, and all these ancient millennium items. What do they mean? What do they do? What are they for? Who's gonna get them? Who's gonna get the god cards? Right there, it's because it was so enriched. The story was so enriched with culture, with influence from culture, and how it managed to portray that. While it's not all 100% one-to-one accurate of Egyptian culture and history, you knew that Takahashi was a fan of what he was creating because the man went to Egypt, right, just to research in order to present his idea, right? He went to the place. He put his money where his mouth is, and he went out there and he did the research and came back and said, "I know how I'm going to tell this story." That's what it is. And so amazing. And it still is. Like it you got to like sometimes you just got to take it in, right? That this man was so dedicated to his craft. Oh man, we had it so good. We had it so good. We really did. It's like it's better to laugh than to cry in it. but 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 seriously, that's what it is.
They're actually fucking dope. They're actually pretty good. You know, these aren't shows written by fucking children here. They're written by grown ass adults. There's adult aspects to it. There's some cool shit behind this.
And you know what? If I had to give like some immediate examples, and this is just spitballing without spoiling necessarily. Howl, Supreme King, if you know, you know. Uh, frickin' frickin' Aztec tie-ins to mystical magical signer marks without giving any context. uh, these powerful cards that are numerically valued, and together they may tap into an ancient power that created the universe itself without any context. The idea that there are multiple worlds that explore each of the summoning methods that effectively built the groundwork, that the foundation of what Yu-Gi-Oh is today without any context. And a deep dive, if I may say so, into the modern world as it exists today, where the differences lie in how we portray ourselves online versus how we may actually differ in real life without any context. I just described to you individually each of the spin-off shows after Duel Monsters. These are all topics, right, that exist in each of these spin-off shows. And let me tell you, right, I'll even give a little more substance to the first one. Supreme King, the idea of being the one at fault for others' downfall, and how you deal with that, how you deal with the trauma of being responsible for your loved one's despair. That's the Supreme King. Okay, all of these spin-offs, it wasn't just, okay, well, this guy's just another Yugi. But that's the thing, is they all had different journeys to go on. They all had different struggles, and they all had different intrigues as far as their worlds are concerned in terms of their timelines, right? Some of them are more futuristic than others, some of them are a little more retro than others. It all kind of depends and varies. But the idea is that even in the spin-offs, somebody there, somebody somebody at Konami headquarters, when it came to the anime handling, somebody cared immensely about at least making sure that there was some good storytelling in there every single time. And this is coming from someone that's effectively experienced the whole thing from start to finish. There are people that cared, and they put some real work into it. And if nothing else, if you have to use the 3 episode rule, you watch up to the third episode, and if you're not Invested, fair enough, fair enough. But I really would say give them a chance. Just try, especially when we're in this situation that we're in, where we have again nothing. Why not give it a shot? If you hate it, you hate it, but maybe you'll find some things to like about it.
And for the longest time, Kazuki Takahashi was present in all the shows. He had to sign off on all of it, even
Seriously.
Rush Duel anime. The Rush Duel era of anime and the Rush Duel cards and the whole format that's only present inside of Japan or OCG territories more so. He had to sign off on that. And, rest in peace to him. Legendary hero status. Still don't feel right about the way his death was presented in the news.
And you know what? Like, yeah, that
News. Just
that situation.
something's not right about it. Even though it all kind of makes sense. The evidence is there, but that's a good way to cover it up for something weird, Illuminati type shit. I'll stay away from that. That's
Yeah, let's leave that as it is for the moment. Yeah.
another video. But he's a hero. He died a hero.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. He really did put others first. And if there's an example that I could give, right, prior to his passing, prior to the last moments of his life on this planet, it goes all the way back to Yu-Gi-Oh. He really didn't have to, if he didn't want to. He didn't have to go all in on the card game. He chose to because besides whatever financial endeavors would, as far as doors that could open are concerned, he put the fans first, man. He put people first. That's the kind of guy he was. The whole story is about friendship, about bonds. There's a spell card called the ties that bind. In other words, the bonds that keep us all connected. That's what it's about. To him, that's what it was always about. Have a good night, Golden Angel. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. And I'm sorry, uh, I'm struggling to keep up with the live chat because there's just so much to say. I'm so sorry, but I appreciate you all just keeping the conversation going in the live chat. So shout out to all of you, G-Man, Dragon Duelist, Golden Angel, to you too, everybody that's been pitching in, Dragon Kingery again. Just thank you guys for keeping the combo going there. Again, and I think all of us collectively can maybe agree. There's just a lot to talk about here. And you know what? I will say this. This is actually something that I haven't really talked about it as far as just the appeal aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, that's the thing too, is Yu-Gi-Oh, at least at a point in time, was effectively maturing with its audience. We started with more so technically little Yugi Muto, and then we kind of matured a little bit with Judai Jaden, and then we matured a lot with Yusei, and then we kind of sort of wound back the clock with Yuma, and then technically with Yuya, and then I would say with Yusaku, we kind of got a little closer to Yusei again. That's kind of how I want to put it, somewhat, somewhat. Um, which is not to discredit any of those characters, but the idea is that the series was maturing with its audience at the time when all this stuff was airing, and I think that that was something that was inherently unique. And there's only one other franchise that kind of, sort of, kind of maybe did something similar that I can think of off the top of my head, and that was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, if you know what that is. Mind you, that franchise may have had some semblance of influence on Yu-Gi-Oh, so that's another reason to just mention it off of that alone. Um, right, but the idea is that having different protagonists, and having them lead their own individual spin-offs and giving them a story to tell. And just visually speaking, right? We start again with like this kid in high school, and he's growing up, and he's got to learn to stand on his own 2 feet. And then we got another kid who's entering a school based on the card game, right? But even just in terms of appearance, right? He looked a little bit more, a little older maybe, as far as when Yugi started his journey and whatnot, and even when he ended it technically, at least as far as Duel Monsters by itself is concerned. Um, and matured for sure. I mean, we literally watched Jaden, right, grow up even more. And by the end of his show, he kind of is like a superhero. I mean, I don't know. He's basically a superhero by the end of GX, at least as far as the anime is concerned. But that's the whole point, right? Herbeto Hero News. Anyway, so then we get to Yusei, right? And from the get go, this is a guy that is struggling hard because he's living in the real world, and there's real consequences to every choice that he makes. And in a lot of ways, while he isn't literally alone, he kind of is alone. He's got to face a lot of these challenges by himself, and the concept of bonds and friendship is especially important for Yusei, because gosh, I mean, when he's in that D wheel, he has to take all of his friends with him. He needs their strength to push through these challenges that he goes through. And again, this is just right. Now I'm giving a little more detail, right? A little more substance to why these other spin-off characters are important in their own right. Because again, there's just gosh, there's so much substance there that was put in, and again, it was definitely from somebody that cared. Besides Takahashi, I would say there was definitely people there that just simply cared. And that's the kind of thing that we need. In order to have good storytelling, in order to have substantive content, I suppose you could say, right? We need people that care about the fans, that care about the franchise, and want to see it succeed ultimately. That's what we need. It really was. And mind you, right, because Arc V is very, and I understand this, very controversial. Not even liked, I love a lot of what Arc V did. I love it. And hello, real Pikachu guest. Hello to you. Um, I loved Arc V, a lot of what it did. The ending, I mean, the sad thing was that not even just the anime, but even the manga was controversial. And they basically told two very completely different stories, and they still both ended up being hyper controversial by the ends. But you know what? It had a lot of cool concepts, both in the manga adaptation and anime adaptation, respectively. And at the end of the day, especially the anime, and they had like, I think it was either one episode or was multiple episodes where they took the theme song, right, and the typical visuals that you would see when starting an episode, and they took the time to present all of the previous protagonists leading up to Yuya, and it was like a celebration. It was opening three of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, and you can find this probably still on YouTube. I'm sure somebody's uploaded that special opening for a particular episode or so, where again, like they showed these visuals of all the protagonists leading up to Yuya, and it was a celebration of all of them. And I'm like, oh, that's what hits so hard, man. That's what I loved it. And that's also why, to be fair, right? I love these new sets coming out that are featuring the protagonists' monsters and even their rival characters' monsters. I love that because it's also a celebration. It's a celebration of the foundation, the history, the lore. No, but seriously, it's a celebration of what made this thing what it is today. And again, but regardless of what may have gone wrong for a lot of folks, and when it comes to Arc V specifically, again, the idea of it featuring all characters that we already knew and loved. A lot of folks love Jack. A lot of folks love Kaito. The list goes on. It was beautiful and that way that's a beautiful aspect of Arc V, because again, it was a celebration. The whole show was a celebration of what put it in its position in the first place. And that's a beautiful thing about a spin-off in its case, is that it's not trying to be better than everything else. It was trying to celebrate everything that made it what it is. That's something that I want to at least give credit to Arc V for, if nothing else. Huge, like, and we I don't know if we'll ever get the answer as to why they made that decision. I've seen similar things happen with different franchises before, as far as things that have merchandise and whatever. But this was just a really bizarre choice. Like everything to do with that studio change and everything to do with the handling of the card game specifically for Rush, it's like they basically set it up to fail in a lot of ways. They really, really unfortunately did. And it's not to say that it literally failed, but could it have done a lot better? Yeah. Yeah, it really could have. And it wasn't given the opportunity to even try. And it's a shame. It's a shame because this is not just any old Joe Schmo card game. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! You better put some respect on its name. Good grief. Handle it better, guys. My goodness. My goodness. Konami, as far as your involvement is concerned, you gotta put some respect on this thing. You've got a lot of other IPs under your belt, and I will not excuse or ignore those. But we can't sit here and pretend that Yu-Gi-Oh is not up there on the pecking order. Let's not pretend that it isn't. All right. Anyway, and that's crazy, right? Because it's not the first time that something like this had happened, aka Capsule Monsters and Dungeon Dice Monsters. This is not the first time where just a massive mishandling of some kind of subsection version of the game, right? This is not the first time that this kind of thing has happened. But I would almost argue that this was astronomically more detrimental because Dungeon Dice Monsters is right, and Capsule Monsters, they're not mandatory as far as how to understand, right, like the original card game or things like that. Like that's not necessarily the case. But in the case of Rush and that entire universe, right, that timeline of events and as far as the anime is concerned and the cards respectively, right? Like how are we supposed to invest in that? Like how does that work? Again, this has happened before. I've seen this kind of thing before. And I'm gonna actually call attention to it and put it out there by name. Dragon Ball Superhero, sorry. Super Dragon Ball Heroes, that's it. This was a kind of a split off from the canon storyline media installments of the Dragon Ball series as it exists today. Super Dragon Ball Heroes is effectively, in some ways, what Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel is. And if you don't know what Super Dragon Ball Heroes is, long story short, it was a game based on the franchise, the series Dragon Ball, the most iconic anime of all time. There's no way to debate that. That's unfortunate. It's just the truth. It's the truth. Like, come on, we have to at least put the respect on that. Like, it paved the way so that a lot of other stuff could come out. Mind you, Yu-Gi-Oh was actually within that time frame and definitely did its job as well. Let's not make any mistakes about that. But anyway, right? So, Super Dragon Ball Heroes was a game, a card game, actually, ironically. Is there any connections there? Who knows? But right, it was a card game that was mostly digital, but you could also get the physical cards if you wanted to. But that game was not accessible to anywhere except Japan. So people who came to know of the Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime, which ended up being a thing. It was a promotional anime, just like Chronicles. See where I'm going? The handling was ridiculous because if you were a watcher of the Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime, you would have no idea what the heck is going on because you don't even have access to the game. And this is the problem with Rush. Even if you check out an English dubbing of the Rush show, you don't even have access to the cards anyway. So you might be less inclined to invest in them, especially if you have to ship them overseas or something. And you might not be wanting to do that, especially because you don't want to have to, I don't know, Google Translate every single card that you get your hands on or or whatever, right? It's craziness. It's craziness we got going on with that. So I've seen this thing before. I've seen basically both situations, the Chronicles situation and the Rush duel situation, all happen in one other anime franchise. It's crazy. And that's why I dreaded this situation and why I'm so compelled to do something about it. And I'm happy that I'm not the only one. The fact that we're reacting to this video right now proves that I'm not the only one. The fact that any of you guys are here and engaging with this conversation with me is proof that I'm not the only one. Thank goodness I'm not. Thank goodness, because it can't happen again, man. You know, not without doing everything in within power to to just change course. Because again, this franchise needs a leader. It needs a direction to go in. It needs to have a plan, right? We can't just wing it. Okay, we cannot just simply wing it. This franchise deserves better than that. It does. Let's see. I feel a new anime with a new cast, but also being old characters back, but to be there, not make it about them. Tie the previous animes together, but also tie modern decks. Exactly right. Something like that. It's well within possibility. I've talked about this a few times, and I'm gonna do it again for the thousandth time that I've done this. Um, an anthology series would be the ultimate Yu-Gi-Oh show ever. I'm actually gonna quadruple super ultra mega super special awesome double down on this and say that an anthology series would go such a long way for Yu-Gi-Oh because you could go to any of the eras of the previous anime that have come out up to this point. You could go to any of them and feature any of the characters at any points in time, protagonists and all, side characters, it doesn't matter. You could do all of that and you could give a little something to everybody. But that's not to say that that'd be the only anime. No, make no mistake. With an animation studio, Konami, you guys should be making multiple anime based on the Yu-Gi-Oh IP. There's a plethora of different shows that could be airing, maybe not necessarily simultaneously, though I would never complain if we had them. Although granted, it's also important that we not stretch our resources too thin and then the quality drops as a product. Hi Marvel, looking at you. Look, that's a shot. Oh my goodness. Not to step on anyone's toes. If you like Marvel stuff, hey, more power to you. Anyway, look, my point is that they've got the studio now. Use it. Please. Please use it. You've got this resource. You didn't start it for no reason. It's not just there to collect dust or to look pretty. Use it. Use whatever resources, Konami, that you have put into this studio to animate your own original works, and let's take an IP that could 100% benefit from it, like Yu-Gi-Oh, because there's Rush, there's Chronicles, there's the original card game and an anime with characters to drive it. There's an anthology series is another idea. If you wanted to even go a reboot route without completely invalidating everything that came before it, you could just make another anime and have it be an alternate timeline. You could easily do that, right? You could start from zero with an alternate timeline and let that be its own individual running series and start with Yugi and friends again and give it your best shot. You could do that. You know what's great about it all is that no matter how many of these, if all of these came to be, they have so much material to work with. The original material that already is existing, right? They've got so much to draw from. It's like there's the only way to fail is to just look at all that material and then turn the other way, right? Turn the cheek and not take that into account. Looking at you, Star Wars. Is that another shot? I'm sorry. I'm taking pot shots today. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. If you love Star Wars, more power to you. I used to love it. I have a weird relationship with it. Anyway, oh God, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Listen, seriously though, right? Yu-Gi-Oh. That's what we're talking about. In all seriousness, this could be done theoretically, but it could be done. All that Konami has put out so far, and I've researched this to figure this out, right? But all that Konami has put out so far is the Chronicles and some kind of anime based on a video game, which, mind you, I'm aware has some kind of fan base, and that's great. but it seems like it's a pretty niche community, and so it's only going to appeal to a very specific section of people, right? That experience that video game, and so that's all they put out so far with launching an animation studio, and it's been, I don't know, close to, if not over 3 years, and that's all they have to show. There's studios like Mappa and plenty more I could probably name off the top of my head that run at least five or more anime simultaneously in one season of anime, right? One season where per year, right, they have whatever shows that are running. That there's studios that do that. So why is it that Konami's is falling so short? I don't know. Is it a resource issue? Is it that they're not putting enough resources into the studio? I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is that it is going to start collecting dust after a while. Because it should be a well-functioning machine, and unfortunately it still isn't. And when you've got an IP like Yu-Gi-Oh, that's the last thing you should want. And this is true, by the way. This is to acknowledge it. This is definitely, Russia's definitely had that kind of impact, which is it's a good thing. So honestly, it's a good thing. And you know what? Maybe that is what it is. And I would hate that. I think all of us would, because that would be reasons to grab your pitchforks and your blue eyes red dragon in attack mode. But seriously, if the only excuse is that they're just being lazy and they're not doing what they need to do, You know that that meme where like the guy just face palm. There's probably plenty of memes that are like that, right? But like, just like insert whatever meme comes to mind of you just face palming, right? Like that's what's going on right now. Like if all this is that they're just being lazy, good grief, man. Ever seen Commander 90? Oh, 100%. You'll probably find me in his comment section somewhere because I'm a fan of his work. He does good, great freaking stuff. Yeah, no. That is one of the creators out there that I could point to and say, you know what? This guy cares. This guy cares about this IP enough to do the research, to pay attention, and yada 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 yada, right? To make these theories and connect things and to make sense, right? And it to be palatable and digestible and to present it in the way that he has, because his execution is great. As far as a lot of his theory, especially the Yu-Gi-Oh anime manga timeline, that was like his like baby, right? Like this was it. Okay, this was the big one. Um, Excellent, excellent stuff. Um, and that's what we need. That's what we really, 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 really need, is those kind of folks that care that much. Um, it's so massively, massively important that we have that we have people that care, that aren't just there for the superficial reasons, but who are actually invested in what happens to this IP. But anyway, skill issue. I don't know. And look, you don't even have to like wonder how would they do that? How would they bring back Yugi? You don't even have to guess. The dark side of dimensions is your answer. Okay, we have a situation where theoretically, this is the last time that we're going to see Atem. It's the last time that Atem is going to directly be involved with anything going on with Yugi, Kaiba, and friends, right? This would be the last big involvement that he would have, because otherwise, the puzzle is gone. He's back to the afterlife, done. This is how you bring Yugi back, because he's already here. We have a situation where now we can tell Muto Yugi's story. And I mean that, his story, where he's going to be the guy in the driver's seat. He's going to be the one drawing the cards. He's going to be the one saying, the heart of the cards. Okay, it needs to be his opportunity to be his own protagonist instead of sharing that seat with someone else. That is how you do it. That's the whole point of my project. It's the whole point. That's really all I'm trying to say to Konami. I'm just trying to say, look, guys, okay, if a freaking Joe Schmo in the corner of the internet can come up with this, surely you've gotta, or at least you can find the folks out there that you're willing to put on your payroll, right? And you put them in the driver's seat and let them lead this thing, let them have their vision, let them have their a direction that they want to take the franchise in. And look, they've got enough material to work with that you can go ahead and tell a good story, right? And get people invested and get people excited and have it so that people want to see what comes next. Okay? That's what it is. Oh my gosh, that's what it is. And so that's why we're at where we're at. Okay? That's what's going on. By the way, Miho, hi, in the corner over there. See that girl right there? Miho? Nosaka? You ever heard of her? Yeah, she's up on the table too, by the way. That's a card you could play. I mean, I'm playing it, but you could play it. You could play it too. There's multiple copies. I know it's a rare card to find, but I mean, you guys have one. You could do something with that. I'm just saying. Anyway, which was genius, by the way. Let me not undersell that incredible technological universal development that Kaiba achieved. Like, make no mistake, that's freaking insane that Kaiba managed to do that. But the fact is that again, that's how much potential this franchise has that it could even do. Well, by the way, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure once did. It had a video game called Eyes of Heaven where it managed to pull in all of its previous protagonists up to that point and put them all in a video game together where they would all interact and yada yada. This has been done before. And it can work. It can actually work, especially if you got somebody in the driver's seat who cares about the story being told and cares about its execution, right? This can be done. Not necessarily that you have to do like a massive ensemble cast with all, but you can. It's an option, and I bet you there's a good amount of people that like it. Heck, I don't know, I lost the channel, but I know I saw a channel out there that made a video, and the thumbnail had like Yusaku down to like I think it was Judai. I don't think I saw Yugi there. I don't remember, but I saw like a video, and a lot of people had watched it at the time when I saw it on my feed, and I'm like, there it is. That's where it's about. That's what everyone came here to see. It's right there. And that's fair. What I would say again, just kind of to talk about those two briefly, is that those two series were both examples of the franchise trying to mature with the audience, and that's what I appreciate about them, amongst other things. But that's one detail about both of those two shows in particular, which I think GX has some of that as well as far as Judai's development. But again, like that's a really good thing. It's okay. It's okay to let a franchise mature. It's all right to do that. You don't have to be afraid. Go ahead. You don't have to not do it. A lot of franchises are so afraid of it. Case in point, Pokemon with Ash, which, to be fair, was not necessarily detrimental to Pokemon. If anything, now it created a very different scenario, where now they have these new protagonists, or what have you, because Ash's story is effectively done, at least in terms of the anime side of things. And yeah, that's another It's a topic for some other Pokemon creator to probably talk about. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, right, they didn't do that. They did the opposite, where they actually saw off the flagship original protagonist and introduce all these other ones. But you know what? Again, they all have there's a bit of sugar and spice and different flavors, everything nice for each individual protagonist that came after Yugi. And you know what? They all have something to bring to the table. If I may be so bold as to say, I think they all had something to bring to the table, other than new summoning methods, right? Other than that, there were other things that they actually presented, which I thought were definitely worth a shot, worth checking out. It was so good. Oh, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Oh man, I have to say this. Let me say this. Let me say this right now. Listen, if you only experience Zexal through the English dub, I am so sorry. Okay, look. No disrespect to, no disrespect. I mean this. I mean this. No disrespect. But I think the ideal way to experience Zexal is at least with subbed. At least with subbed. Watch it that way. I I'm telling you, the passion of these voice actors, the presentation of the story, okay, the way that it was executed. Zexal in its original presented form, which was in Japanese. Oh my goodness. Oh, so good, man. When Yuma's voice actor needed to go for it, okay, if you know what I mean, when he needed to go for it in a scene, when he needed to put some passion in, oh, he delivered. Oh man, he delivered. I love that guy, man. His delivery is so good in the moments that mattered for the character. Because make no mistake, Yuma suffers, and so does everyone around him. But seriously, he suffers. Okay, he goes through some hard times, and it is a challenge, and it is something that he has to overcome. Um, but that's again, that's the thing. It's like all of these characters that came after Yugi, they all have something to give, but obviously in Yugi's case, and I'm talking about Muto, he still has more to bring to the table. He really does. If you ask me, really does. And to be honest with you, right, I tried with Arc V. I tried with English stuff. Um, it just wasn't for me in terms of the execution. I saw what they were trying to do. There were some things that I liked about it, especially with trying to get the accuracy of like accents for characters who clearly were based in certain continents of the world or what have. Like I liked that idea. I liked what they were trying to go for with that. But the Japanese was more so for me. It's just me personally. However you enjoyed it, as long as you were watching Yu-Gi-Oh, you hear no complaints from me. This is gonna be an interesting opinion, take. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I actually like pendulum summoning. I quite enjoyed it, as a matter of fact. And look, you know, the text and the lots of words, and you gotta. I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's just, you know what? Every single time we had a new summoning method, there was this feeling I got, and you know what? I had it for every single one. Link summoning was a little different. I will say that, and it took a minute. But then when it finally hit, when it finally settled, I was like, ah, now I'm starting to get with the program. Okay, it took a little bit, so I had to let it simmer, but I liked pendulum summoning. I like synchro summoning. I like all of them. There is oh my gosh, there is such a satisfaction that comes with playing whatever deck it is and being able to summon all of those summoning methods onto the field simultaneously, or at least have one of each, right? Having, I don't know, a pendulum monster, a synchro monster, a fusion monster, an Xyz monster, and a link monster on the field at the same. There is something about that that is so appealing to me. I don't know what it is, but it's so good. I love it. I love it. Shout out to DD's. Oh my goodness, DD. Oh, Akabareji. Oh, that guy. If you know him. Oh boy, I would argue he's probably this one of, the, if not the strongest duelist at this point. If we factor in his new support, I'd be hard pressed to say like he's up there. His deck is kind of crazy at this point, but that's just me, and I'm talking strictly on anime rules. But anyway, I love the character too. But regardless, let's continue. Jesus. And you got to know what that is. You have to. You got to. And that's why this has to be talked about. It has to be. Or a movie, which could totally work if you ask me. Heck, we could do multiple installments. We could do a trilogy. Let's get a trilogy for the Duel Links movies. And let's just go beat for beat and we find out what's really going on here. It's crazy, but you know what? It could work. It could work. It can work. Konami, talking to you. It could work. It can. Or both. You know that meme? The meme of the two characters, El Dorado, and they go both. Both? Yeah, both is good. Both. Which was so good, by the way. And again, that's why I'm such a massive fan of the Sinet deck because it's doing that. It's going back to Egypt, baby. That's where we gotta be. I mean, now I will say this though. Again, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, a little earlier on, but the thing is that Yu-Gi-Oh is one of those franchises that I think has the ability to not just dive into one pantheon that exists within culture and real world, of course. I think it could dive into freaking any of them. It could do any of them, and it has. Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, the signers, that was clearly based on a culture effectively inspired by the Aztecs. I mean, it was there. It was clearly there. The imagery was there. Everything about. They did the Nordics, okay? The Aesir gods. They did it in 5Ds again, by the way. They did it. Yu-Gi-Oh has the ability to do that. Shout out to God of War. I like where it's going. Some people don't. It's totally fine. To each their own. I like God of War at this point for the same detail in here with Yu-Gi-Oh. I think that like that franchise and what it's clearly trying to do, it's trying to dive into other pantheons. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh can do that too. I think it can. I think it, in fact, it could excel at it because Yu-Gi-Oh from its inception was based on culture, and that's something that can shape a foundation that can't easily be shaken. And so that's why when we get a Sonnet deck, for example, or if we get a deck that's based on the lore, or if we get, a lot of it ties back into what started it all, and that happened to be Egypt and all the culture surrounding that. It's pretty good stuff. And again, this is going back to that topic I hit on earlier about just attention and why it's so important. The kind of attention that this franchise needs, it's there, it still exists. It just needs you just gotta light the fuse, okay? You gotta light a spark. You gotta show people this is the safe zone. This is where you need to go. Okay, if we're in a world of darkness, amigo, and we need to find our way out, this is where you need to go. This is how you're gonna find your answer. This is how you're going to get to where you wanna be. Okay? This is what needs to be done. This is the kind of attention that Yu-Gi-Oh needs. It needs the attention that it always had, but it has failed in some ways to maintain. It needs to get it back. And it can. It absolutely can. Heck, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today had it not been for this concept that Yu-Gi-Oh can still draw people in some way. It's thanks to Yugioh that I'm here. It really freaking is. And that's the power of this franchise. And it's done it for a lot of other people in more grandiose ways as well. It's a powerful thing. First and foremost, yep. I summon to the field my dark magician. I mean, come on. Not alone, at least. Mind you, again, what I would say in my view of it, the cards are a key part, especially in terms of the success from the financial side of things, because people investing into the cards is pretty darn important, especially for the company that is producing said cards and this, that, and the third, right? I would say that that matters in its own right. But again, in order for it to even reach its full potential, to reach the heights of its marketability, you need the thing that put it there in the first place. That's where the show comes in. Exactly. I don't know, something, I don't know. But yeah. Oh, so much more. And then you know what? We really can't undersell this fact when it comes to Rush Tool. And I said this earlier, but I'm gonna double down on it. Let me say this: Japan, as a location on this planet, was never gonna make more money than Japan plus the rest of the world and the market that potentially will invest in Rush Duel had it been made accessible to everyone else. That is a fact. That is a fact. It is why the original card game is still doing as well as it is because it's universally accessible. Okay? It's a fact. And that's why Rush was actually done a disservice by not being given the same opportunity. Let me say this, I actually like Speed Duel as well. Um, I like it. Having finally gotten the time and been able to invest time in playing Duel Links and really experiencing speed duels properly, I like it. It's a different way to play, obviously, but I think there's an appeal there. It's why people play the game, other than the story and the lore. But there really is an enjoyable aspect to that way of playing, and you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's a great thing. More of that, please. More enjoyment, please. And you know what? I will say this, right? There's maybe there's one official channel that has some idea of at least how to present any Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, whether it's like a full episode from one of the series or whatever. Um, there's definitely more they could be doing, for sure. It's a matter of who's being put in what positions and to what degree do they have knowledge in order to execute the purposes of their positions, right? Do they have an idea? Do they understand this? Yeah, yeah. That's another topic for another day. In Japan, that can't be understated. They 2 episodes, not even 10 minutes each episode, not even 10 minutes. Oh, oh gosh, that deck. I'm sorry. Like to the Sky Striker fans that were probably reasonably expecting more. I am so sorry. And make no mistake, we have come such a long way in terms of anime not being shunned. There are people who are gonna grow up today that won't really know that. They're not gonna know what it was like. Okay. But there are those of us that very strongly remember what it was like to be mocked, right? To be talked down to be looked down on, just for consuming a different type of media from maybe things that other folks might have been interested in, right? Like you can't even begin, right? Like to dive into what it was like at that time. And now it is so universally accepted, right? It's mainstream now. It, the work that it took to get here, Yu-Gi-Oh was part of that team of pioneers that started this. Okay. Yu-Gi-Oh was there at the round table, if I may say. It was there. and it did the legwork so that a lot of these other anime that exist today, whether they're card game centric or not, it it crawled. It crawled in the dirt with Pokemon, if I may say. But they crawled together to pave the way for anything that would come after. Anything. Buddy Fight, the list goes on of different card game centric things, right? They paved the way. All right? They did. But they can still do more. They can still lead the way. They can. And thank you for making this video and lighting this frickin' fire in me to talk about this again. My gosh. Because it had to be done. It had to be done. So a big shout out to Seven Item Stone. Uh, Wonderful discussion video, I would say so. You just caught right to the point. Um, in 20 minutes, we managed to just kind of summarize a lot of what's going on, and I figured I could just throw in a little something something here and there, just to add on to this overall conversation. But this is what it is. It's this. It's this conversation that needs to keep happening, and it's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. I started this channel, and there's going to be people who maybe come across this stream, who knows when, sometime in the future, and maybe you're just sitting chilling. You wanted some background noise, and so you decided to pick this stream of all the past streams that are made available to watch back on the playback, right? But you found this stream, and you made it to this point in this stream where I'm gonna give you the lore. I'm gonna give you the lore of this channel. When I started putting up some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff on this channel, it's just anime clips. I'm gonna be honest. That's what it was. I started with just anime clips. And what were those clips from? The Duel Monsters anime. So I have, while technically anecdotal, but I had analytical evidence to suggest that people still to this day love the anime of Yu-Gi-Oh! Millions upon millions. And you can fact check this. You can look at this channel, you can look at the front page, whatever it is, and you can see the public views on this channel. There's a reason why they're as high as they are. It's because that's how many people love Yu-Gi-Oh! Still to this day. Still to this day. And they love the anime so very much. So very much. I was putting up monster summons. I was putting up moments where characters were interacting with each other, like Pegasus listing off his top duelist of the era in GX, or gosh, or moments where Kaiba was dissing other characters like Von Schroeder or Joey for the thousandth time, right? But I got to see it firsthand. I got to see it, and for about, I want to say, 3 years, that was what I was doing on this channel, was putting up clips of the show and seeing how much love is still there. After all this time, after over 2 decades, there is still so much love for this IP, for this franchise. So the fact is that it's just waiting. It's just waiting right there. It's got its deck shuffled. It's even got its dual disc on. It's just waiting for the chance to try again, to draw that first card, and to start its new turn. Okay, that's what Yu-Gi-Oh's waiting for. So whether it's going to happen in September, or even if it takes 3 years, 5 years from now, whatever, In the meantime, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do what I can. With whatever I've got, I'm going to give it my best. And I hope that we can continue this conversation, not even just with words, but with action. And so that's why I'm going to put out whatever I put out, whatever projects I have in mind, not just the film, but anything else that I want to put out there, just to try to give a little nudge to Konami and say, you know what? This IP's got a little something, something for you. Let me give you some examples. And I hope that others do too. That's a big part of this as well. Is we need more. We need more folks that want to do it, that have held themselves back, These incredibly talented and creative people out there that have stories to tell. Okay, go do it. Go do it. Let me tell you right now, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna watch. I'll be in the front seat. Okay, I bought the tickets. Please show me something. No, but seriously, we need folks to keep this going. So again, it's not even just about the conversations that need to be had, and by all means, they need to be had. But we also need action, not just words, but action. And so I'm gonna finish this project, this film, Yu-Gi-Oh! Bonds Beyond Space. I'm gonna finish it. Made a lot of progress. I'm gonna give you guys an update. Oh yeah, I'm doing it right now. 36 minutes. A couple extra seconds in there somewhere. But about 36 minutes is how much I have done right now. Yay! No, but all seriousness, right? This project would not be where it is had it not been for the simple fact that people love Yu-Gi-Oh! And no one would care if they didn't care. Is that redundant? Whatever. But it's true. Silly as that was conveyed, it's true. Okay? It's true. I wouldn't be in this position. A lot of other creators wouldn't be in the positions they're in if people didn't still love this thing and want to see more from it. I would like to think that my experience, my personal experience on YouTube in particular, being able to interact with so many different duelists who have shared their stories, shared their experiences, and shared their love of not only the game, but the show that featured the game, right? To see that and to see a whole new breed of enthusiasm for my own projects, which is a blessing. Gosh, I'm in such a gosh. I don't know. It feels like I don't even. It feels like I could say so much more about that. But seriously, to to have the experience that I've had with this, and I know that it's just as much more so with any of the other talented creators out there, whether they're just talking about the card game or what have you, right? It's all there. As far as how long is the film is going to be, I've said this before, and I'm just gonna give that again. It could be an hour to maybe an hour 30. It all depends on in terms of narratively speaking what I need to accomplish. And I want it to be done with an ideal pacing so that everything gets translated as it needs to. Rather than translated, I more so mean to say conveyed. Right, that's what matters there. So it could end up being a little over an hour. We'll see, um, but that's the idea, right? So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna probably talk about this topic again. It's probably gonna come up again, even if the stream is not dedicated to it. It's probably gonna happen. I can already see it. But other than just with words, with actions, I'm gonna do what I'm doing already. And I will say this for those that are here live with me right now, if you're listening, you're gonna know this ahead of time. Capsule Monsters. Yeah, that video that was out today. Today, the same day that this stream was done. That's not all that's on my list. That's all I'm going to say about that. That being said, as far as updates are concerned for the film, I would say probably in this particular situation that I'm in, it might be next month, early next month maybe is when I may have some other updates. It just depends. I'm at a certain point in the film now where there's certain things that I have to kind of figure out logistics wise, but I digress. Yes, the short videos. That was something new and something unique to the shorts videos for this channel. See, that's something that I'm gonna have to dedicate a whole stream for probably. I was honestly already thinking about doing that anyway. So you guys can probably expect a proper stream to talk a little bit more about that and just other things generally speaking. So maybe that'll happen maybe in either the next week over or something along those lines. Today seemed like a pretty decent day to stream, so maybe I'll dedicate Mondays. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll do something like that as far as when I'll live stream from now on. I've been trying to figure out like the ideal day to have live stream so that it's not an inconvenience to anybody as far as being able to actually join it. But I digress. Right. So there'll definitely be a stream where we'll talk more about the new things that have been coming out revolving around the film. What I will say for now overall is again, just I want to give a shout out again to our friend over at 7 Item Stone. Great conversation, great discussion video. I'm just glad that it was even done, and I'm glad I came across it because it gave me the opportunity to really get in depth about this whole topic to do with the franchise and where it needs to go. But gosh, expect more of it to come for sure. Expect more of these conversations for sure. Expect some other new things coming. coming. Um, oh my gosh, I want to take a moment again here just for this particular stream. Wow, you guys really kept the conversation going in the live chat. Appreciate that. I wish I could have just gone through and read everyone's comments, but there was just so much to say. So I want to shout everybody out that was adding on to this whole discussion, and there will definitely be more opportunities. Heck, and maybe the next time we'll do a stream, I'll just be talking more with what you guys have to say in the comments. But regardless, my gosh. So Creature Chaos and Bear Force Gaming, thank you to the both of you who are currently in the chat right now. To everybody else that was with us for the majority of the stream, thank you guys again for just engaging and just having a real good topic here. But other than that, yeah, no, I think it's about time. I think it's about time I wrap up here. Man, yeah, no, this is and let this stream right. Let this stream be another example of how much I personally just love this wonderful franchise called Yu-Gi-Oh. I really love it. That's why I can talk about it for this freaking long because it's just that good. At its best, it's better than great. But anyway, again, thank you to everyone for joining me for this. This was fantastic. It was really it was awesome fun. It was fun. I had a good time. Maybe there will be more reaction, response, whatever you want to call it, type streams in the future. If I catch certain videos and I'm like, oh, this is a really good topic, let's talk about it. Maybe we'll do this again. But until then, and in the meantime, no matter where you live or go, make sure you're staying safe out there and take care of yourselves. Drink some water. It's really good for you. Seriously, do it. But until the next time, as always, it's time